Sugar babies, according to Urban Dictionary, which is the most reliable dictionary site out there, is defined as follows: a young female or male who is financially pampered / cared for by a sugar daddy or sugar mama in exchange for companionship. It doesn't necessarily always involve the two parties getting intimate with each other, although that usually seems to be a part of the deal. However, there are some cases where these sugar babies don't even meet their sugar parent in person. In a sense, it's an online relationship. Either way, today we'll be counting down the top 10 influencers exposed for being sugar babies. In at number 10, Sinead Claremont. One half of the Claremont twins. This one unfortunately doesn't end so well. So the story here is Sinead was sentenced to a year in prison after she pled guilty to wire fraud. The charge stemmed from a night she went to see her sugar daddy, James Alessi, who died that same evening. So what happened? Well, according to Sinead, who admitted Alessi was her sugar daddy, the 42-year-old real estate broker invited Sinead over to his apartment in Manhattan. However, Sinead left after a short while because, as far as she was concerned, he was a drunken mess and she didn't want to deal with it. Before she left, Sinead did however steal his debit card. Turns out Alessi was actually extremely intoxicated after overdosing on a mix of narcotics. Alessi was found dead in his apartment the next day. However, as per Sinead, she had no idea he had passed. Over the course of a few months, Sinead would go on to buy luxury items such as Valentino shoes and expensive flights to who knows where. It's believed she spent around $20,000, and something Sinead purposely allowed Alessi to die that evening just so she could spend his fortune. At number 9, 24-year-old Kate Jepanowski. After being pulled over in Sydney around 1 AM with police under the impression that Kate was possibly intoxicated, she found herself in some hot water. Upon being asked to see her identification, officers noticed a large wad of cash in her purse and suspected it could have come from a possible deal involving narcotics that she was possibly involved in. Aside from the wad of cash, the officers also found 2 phones in the car, one of which Kate claimed belonged to someone else. A more thorough search revealed a clear plastic bag with white residue in it, as well as a Xanax tablet without a prescription. According to police reports, Kate told them various different stories before admitting she got the money from her sugar daddy. She ended up getting off with a fine, but I mean, geez, you might have some explaining to do to your followers now, love. Coming in at number 8, we got Sofia Spallino. The 27-year-old influencer claims to be an old soul and says although at first she was taken a little aback by her partner's age, she eventually saw past it. Spallino is dating 54-year-old entrepreneur Robert Croak, and Croak showed the world sometimes you really do need to shoot your shot. Story here is Croak gave Spallino a follow on the gram and then slid into her DMs. Within days, they were FaceTiming, and before she knew it, Spallino was headed to Croak's hometown of Toledo to go on her first in-person date with Croak. Sparks immediately, the two are now planning on getting married and having children. I don't necessarily see an issue with the age gap, more so how quickly things are progressing here. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but how do you know they're really the one? You know? Like, how do you know? And at number 7, 21-year-old Chloe Sutherland. Now let me say, if this girl decides to start an online course on how to be a sugar baby, I would sign up. You should sign up. Just do it. She's got this thing down to a science. Sutherland has 3 different sugar daddies, 2 of them internationally and 1 in Melbourne, where she's from. And according to her, none of them know about each other, although I find that kind of hard to believe now that she's come forward about it. Either way, Sutherland has these guys pay for her 2 apartments, 3-bedroom house, food, clothes, you name it, they cover it. One of the sugar daddies is from Sweden, and he doesn't even want to meet her in person. The guy just likes having someone to talk to other than his family, I guess. Another lives in Japan, and it seems that Sutherland is very professional when it comes to her business. She'll never release her sugar daddy's information, and when asked in person about what she does, she usually just says she's a YouTuber. Hashtag YouTube life, am I right? At 6, we got Amanda Drago. Now this is an interesting situation because Drago actually posted a tribute to her late sugar daddy and didn't hold back about how she really feels. Captioning a photo on Instagram of herself and Brad, her sugar daddy, Drago explained how toxic their relationship was and how she wished she had never met him. Drago went into detail about the nice things he bought her, such as a racehorse and a pair of Louboutins. But she also touched on the scarier side of the relationship, such as the time that Brad did whippets and tried to attack her. Although she had some nice things to say about Brad, ultimately the post seems like it was a final goodbye. Drago claims Brad also haunts her, and she capped off the post asking him to please stop. Coming to the number 5 spot, Mackenzie Lewick. Lewick was a 23-year-old nursing student at the University of Utah, and she was very open and public about her arrangements. Lewick admitted to having 2 separate sugar daddies at once, and even posted on Facebook explaining how to obtain a sugar daddy. She gave out tips like, try Tinder and be blunt about it. Mine says, I want an SD-SB relationship with a real connection. If they don't know what an SD-SB is, tell them bluntly sugar daddy and sugar baby. But if they don't know, they aren't really worth your time. She went on to explain, set your age preferences from 35 plus. You'll have the most luck there. Private message me if you have any more questions, I have experience. Unfortunately, Luik went missing in June of 2019, and her remains were found a few weeks later. The man responsible for this sickening crime is Ayoola Ajayi, and he was sentenced to prison in October of 2019. In at number 4, Melina Roberge. This story has a surprising twist, and it doesn't end well in Melina's favor. In early 2015, the influencer would meet an older man at a restaurant in Montreal. It wasn't long before the two started seeing each other, and Roberge got caught up in the lifestyle. In May of 2016, she was offered to go on an all-expenses-paid trip to Morocco, where she could earn money as an escort. When she discovered the cruise ship would also be importing narcotics, she said she had no interest. Still, her sugar daddy, who remains unnamed, lined her pockets with a good €10,000 in cash. He then offered her another opportunity, joining others on a cruise that would travel the world. She wouldn't have to do anything, just enjoy the trip. He also mentioned they would be smuggling narcotics, but it'd have absolutely nothing to do with her. So she agreed because who could say no? I mean I would say no, guilty by association and whatnot, but and that's actually exactly what happened. Australian authorities seized a ton of snow, if you get what I'm saying, like booger sugar, nose candy, and it just so happened to be hidden in a suitcase in Roberge's cabin. She's now facing 8 years in prison for her involvement. At number 3, we got Chloe, an 18-year-old sugar baby who didn't want to reveal her last name for the sake of privacy. But Chloe seems to have struck gold with her arrangements. Studying psychology and neuroscience in school, the Londoner allegedly makes up to £18,000 a month from her clientele of sugar daddies. And the craziest part of it all is that she simply acts as a companion. There is no intimacy involved, and Chloe sees them between 2 to 4 times a month. That's about once a week. And it also depends on how busy she is with her schoolwork. Not only does she get money, but she goes on shopping trips, gets jewelry, designer bags, clothing, who knows what else. Although Chloe claims she feels her family and friends judge her because of what she does, this life is just too good to give up. Coming into the number 2 spot, Jessica Hui Lee. Now this girl is a full-on psycho, and that's me putting it lightly. So the story here is Lee actually got exposed for being a professional sugar baby, and now she's getting sued for it. A man whose identity is being kept secret claims Lee, his ex-girlfriend, lied about her age, exploited him for financial gain, and tried to ruin his life after he ended their relationship. The 45-year-old, who's being referred to as John Doe, is trying to sue Lee for $1.5 million. Doe was supporting Lee, paying for her groceries, car insurance, and so on. However, after they broke up, Doe found out Lee was really 19, not 25 as she originally claimed. He also found out she had been seeing other men in return for money and the finer things in life. Lastly, after the breakup, Lee started demanding financial support, threatening Doe of accusing him of things he hadn't done. She became vindictive and went as far as creating a fake Instagram profile, pretending to be Doe, following his family members, and then posting explicit photos of him for the world to see. Lee even reached out to Doe's ex-wife, who Doe had recently split up with, shortly before he met Lee. She even punctured Doe's car tires, superglued the door shut, and keyed his car. The influencer's Instagram page is no longer available, and she now owes her ex $7.5 million. So, double thumbs up to you. Good luck. In at number 1, Amy Williams. Williams is a 21-year-old law student who somehow got set up with an incredibly fortunate, or weird, arrangement depending on how you look at things. Williams tweeted that she was tight for cash and needed a sugar daddy. Then she got a DM from a man only being referred to as Richard, who allegedly begged for her to drain his credit card in return for one thing: photos of her feet. At first she thought it was a joke, so she asked for the money. Richard sent his credit card info to her and told her to buy something. She did, and the rest is history. A few feet pics later, Richard is telling Williams to go on a shopping spree with all of her friends, in which she spent a few thousand. All Richard wanted in return? Some feet pics. I got feet, Richard, what's up? Hope you like hairy toes.
It's crazy to say that almost a year ago, the pandemic completely changed our lives. And for the majority of the year, we've been locked down in our homes trying not to spread the virus. But not everyone has actually been locked down, and some celebrities were called out for traveling while we were all bored at home. In at number 5, we have Kylie Jenner. In August of 2020, Kylie Jenner was called out when she flaunted a trip to Paris on her Instagram, while the rest of the world was locked inside, leading everyone to accuse her of being above the law. The backlash started when Kylie started posting pictures of her and her friends around Paris. At first, people thought the pictures might be throwbacks, but when she started posting on her story too, it was obvious she was traveling. Many people were wondering how she could travel because at that time, many countries were banning Americans from entering their nations, France being one of them. After all the outrage, it was revealed that Kylie was allowed in the country for a business exemption trip, with a source telling E! News that Kylie had meetings with cosmetics company Coty that week, and had even spoken to the company's CEO, Peter Harf, about a business opportunity. But with all the pictures she took with friends, it looked like she was lounging around for most of the trip, but of course we really can't expect her to take pictures of her meetings either, right? The insider claimed further that Kylie was going for business reasons and brought friends to make a trip out of it. The US Embassy website confirms that the French government only allows Americans to visit the country at the moment on, quote, rare occasions. And of course, a public trip like this is gonna create a lot of outrage on Twitter, with one user tweeting out after, quote, Kylie Jenner going to Paris during COVID while the rest of the world can't travel or visit family in other countries / states due to border restrictions just doesn't sit right with me. Then another more bluntly said, quote, can someone explain why Miss Kylie Jenner is allowed to travel to Paris in the middle of a pandemic while the borders are closed? Meanwhile, I'm dating a guy who lives in Australia and I can't see him until July of 2021 at the earliest. Eat the rich and leave no crumbs, I'm tired. Next up at number 4, the D'Amelio family. The D'Amelio sisters, along with some of their other TikTok friends, decided to take a vacation to the Bahamas for New Year's Eve. According to the TikTok Room's Instagram account, Charlie and Dixie were with Noah Beck, Chase Hudson, Maddie Moore, Avani Gregg, Anthony Reeves, and photographer Bryant. After the group started to get heat from the posts, the D'Amelios and Greg stopped posting online, but some of the other members of their crew didn't seem to care and still posted anyways. From all the posting, we could see that the group was vacationing at the Atlantis Hotel in Nassau, Bahamas, where people could not enter without a negative COVID-19 test, according to Atlantis' website. And even though fans were mad at everyone in the group, most of the hate went towards Charlie, because only a few days before her trip, she was actually on Instagram Live lecturing people on why they should be social distancing, saying in that live, quote, if you're using this time to hang out with your friends since you don't have school, please, I'm asking you, please stop being so inconsiderate to others. You may think this isn't going to affect me or it isn't that bad, but you are putting other people at the risk to get hurt and be in pain, which is obviously extremely hypocritical. And when Charlie got back from vacation, it was clear in her new TikToks that she had an obvious tan that she was not addressing. And in her recent TikToks, the comments of the post were basically just roasting her for not addressing the scandal and trying to hide her tan. And it's one thing to quietly travel during a pandemic, but it's totally another to go on live days before, lecture your followers about traveling, and then literally do that exact thing days later, and then still post it. Like, just wild to me. And at number 3, the Ace family. The Ace family got tons of backlash after they revealed that they are moving to Mexico in the middle of the pandemic, leaving LA to move to a whole different country. And the video they posted to announce it made things even worse, as it was abundantly clear that the family had an insane amount of privilege to do such a thing. First, they flew their immediate family along with some other family members on a private jet, and while on the jet they were eating lavish snacks and meals. Then the rest of the video was them showing off their huge Mexican mansion, how close they were to the water, and them dancing and drinking. And of course the reaction to that video was awful, so the family ended up disabling comments on that video, and it has 5,000 dislikes as of now. But the family clearly didn't care about the negative attention from the video, as they posted another Mexican vlog a few days later. And Twitter account Def Noodles captured some of the negative comments before comments were removed off the video, and it was pretty much just flooded with people calling out the family for their travels and reminding them how we are in a pandemic and telling them how irresponsible they are being. And I honestly doubt that they will address the scandal, as it's not even close to as bad as some of the other scandals they have been in and didn't address. They'll probably just stay in Mexico until the whole pandemic is over, honestly, and just hope that everyone forgot when they come back. And at number 2, James Charles. James Charles was called out in October of 2020 for traveling to Hawaii from his home in LA, and according to the government, Americans are able to travel there, but only for work or if it's urgent in some way. Also, the Hawaiian government stated that there is a mandatory 2-week quarantine period for all travelers entering the state, and that was only lifted if the traveler tested negative before entering. James also flaunted the trip on social media, posting to Instagram and TikTok. But James was hounded in the comments for the trip, with people calling him out for the unnecessary trip. A Hawaii resident even made a TikTok calling James out, with him writing in that video, quote, so anyone want to give me a good excuse as to why James Charles is here during a pandemic on an island with only 24 critical care ICU beds? That TikTok is now deleted, but it made James respond to the backlash. One user asked James on Twitter, quote, did you get your negative test result before coming on the plane during the pandemic, or are you just going to endanger the people of Hawaii too? And James responded back, quote, "Yeah, before the plane and after landing too," then showing a negative COVID test. But this was not James's only feud related to travel. He also got into it with OG YouTuber Gen X Pen, who made a sub-tweet to all the YouTubers traveling, with Jen saying in her tweet that the YouTubers who are collabing with others should feel so much guilt for doing so and that they're boring. Since James thought Jen was referring to him, James clapped back with a simple "Dis you?" including a screenshot of a video from a month ago where Jen was collabing with other YouTubers, making her seem pretty hypocritical, with James adding that he is not innocent, but that she shouldn't have called out other YouTubers when she's done the exact same thing. James ended up deleting the tweets because he claims he didn't want to fight, but Jen ended up responding later that she did do one collab, while James had done 5 in just the month of December. And finally at number 1, Kim Kardashian. Kim K and her family were at the center of a ton of backlash in October of 2020 when Kim flew 50 people out to a private island in Tahiti to celebrate her 40th birthday party without the fear of coronavirus. In the post, she wrote, quote, "After 2 weeks of multiple health screenings and asking everyone to quarantine, I surprised my closest inner circle with a trip to a private island where we could pretend things were normal for just a brief moment in time." After the scandal blew up, sources said that Kim wasn't too bothered by all the backlash, with that source saying, quote, "She sees celebs have a birthday party on a beach in Malibu and it's fine, but because she has the means to safely transport her family, she's torn down for it. The party was amazing. It was just family and Kim's closest friends, really just her core group." Khloe, who had COVID in the beginning of the pandemic, also supported Kim on the Ellen show, saying, quote, "This year is a frustrating year, I get it. I think there's so many frustrations going on for everybody, but also it's her 40th and this is something that she really wanted to do. For us, it was such a nice thing." Kim even apparently spent $1 million in total on the trip, and she stayed at the Brando Resort, Marlon Brando's private island, which is known as one of the finest eco-friendly resorts in the world. Some of the negative comments on her post read things like, quote, "Nobody in this family could read a room if their life depended on it," with another adding, quote, "LMAO, reading this as half of my office got laid off today." But I did also see a lot of people saying that they would have done the exact same thing if they had the money to do so.
And in today's video, we're going to be telling you guys about a simple mistake this Instagram influencer made that led to her being exposed. So Tupi Saravia is an Instagram influencer with just under 300,000 followers at the time of this recording. Her page claims that she's a travel blogger, and one scroll through her feed and you can see she is in fact exactly that. However, if you look at the sky and a lot of the photos she's posted over time, you may notice something. A lot of the clouds look the same. Interesting. Now, upon doing my research, I came to terms that this is only possible because of one of two things. Either A, she brings a bunch of different outfits to her photo shoots, changes insanely quickly, and nails each photo the first time, which is why the clouds have barely moved from picture to picture, and look identical. Or B, she photoshops her photos, more specifically the clouds. Now, I don't know if you guys have ever done a photo shoot, but it's nearly impossible to get a good picture in one try. At least that's the case when you look like me. But maybe she is a one-pick wonder because she is quite photogenic. Hey girl. No, I'm kidding. Obviously she photoshops the clouds, but still trying to shoot my shot here, so what's up, girl? Twitter user @Santalishi was the first one to point out the similarities of the clouds in a handful of Tupi's photos. The observation then went viral when Twitter user Matt Navarra tweeted out a thread further exploring the initial observation. But, like, I don't know, I mean, it's not really a secret that majority of influencers edit their photos, like, we know this. Even some of the world's most famous celebrities have been caught doing it, so I don't think we should necessarily drag someone for doing what really shouldn't come as a surprise to many. Like, this shouldn't shock anybody, really. I'm gonna start doing it, like, we gotta look good somehow. However, Tupi isn't backing down and claims she's always been open with her followers that her content is edited. She even has a story highlight on her page that shows her edits of friends or followers, and ends with a photo that has "Everything's ready for tomorrow's workshop" written in Spanish. So clearly she was promoting a photo editing workshop on her page. I think it's safe to say a good majority of her followers knew her content was and is edited. She even went as far as jumping in the comments of her photos and letting people know the name of the app she uses, called QuickShot. Just gotta make a quick note of that. In her most recent post, she commented, I quote, "It's an app called QuickShot that I've always been open about with my followers. Actually, there's a highlighted story on my feed where you can see how I edit my followers' pics changing the sky. No big deal, I use it for better composition in my pictures when the actual pic has a bird or overexposed sky. Can't believe how far my clouds went. If you need some, I can do a giveaway," end quote. So obviously, she's finding the fun in it, she's laughing, she's not taking it that seriously. And of course, the thread led to various reactions on Twitter. Some made light of it and made jokes, like Josh Belsman, who wrote, "She's able to influence consumers and weather patterns." I see what you did there, Josh. And Agustin Sirat, I'm really sorry if I said your name wrong, buddy, who wrote, "It's actually the Cloud's IG account," which literally made me and Johnny laugh out loud. Fully serious, we sit beside each other, we were both laughing, it was funny. But others weren't so happy when they found out this influencer edits her content. Ricardo Bernardo wrote, "Why we end here on social media? Faking all the photos? I can point other users doing this. As a photographer, I can't stand this." And Twitter user @HellBenderLow wrote, "To be honest, I find influencer culture to be very unsettling, and this is another prime example as to why. But I'm also confused as to why this guy had to be doctored, seeing as the lighting in her photos suggests the weather is at least somewhat pleasant." I said it like that because she asked it as like a question. I hope it made sense. Either way, I don't think Tupi getting exposed will affect her following or brands that want to work with her. If anything, it's just more exposure which will help grow her because people want to follow travelers. And she's a good looking girl. Guys are gonna follow her, I'm not gonna lie. Like, who we kidding here? I have tons of friends that just follow good looking girls on Instagram. I don't know why. I mean, I know why. Anyways guys, at the end of the day, any ad you see on a billboard, the subway, magazines, they're all edited and photoshopped. So why should online content be any different?
Have you ever wondered if your trolls, i.e. the people who write nasty comments on your posts, are really people that you know personally and not just some random from the internet? Well, you might be right. It's been revealed that an influencer called Clemmy Hooper, who had over 700,000 followers on her Instagram account, Mother of Daughters, was living a double life as an internet troll. Clemmy Hooper runs the Instagram account Mother of Daughters, which used to have 700,000 followers. It doesn't anymore. Not since this scandal broke. On this account, she would document her idyllic family life as a mother of 4. But Clemmy wasn't only living life as a wholesome mommy influencer. She's also an internet troll called Alice in Wonderlust, who posted mean comments on a gossip forum called Tattle Life. Alice in Wonderlust had vendettas against mumfluencers like Bethy Hungerford, aka Hunger Mama, on Instagram. She went on the forum and called Bethy names like Desperate and claimed she was using another group of influencers for her podcast. But Clemmy wouldn't only bitch about other influencers. She also used Alice in Wonderlust to say bad things about her own husband, who she called a class act twat. So how did she get exposed? How did people find out? Alice in Wonderlust talked on her account about going to the Caribbean at the same time that Clemmy was in the Caribbean. Users began to catch wind that Alice in Wonderlust could be Clemmy. This account would strangely make mean comments about Clemmy's competitors, but always had nice things to say about Clemmy. Then another mumfluencer, Mummy Smile on Instagram, aka Laura Rutherford, posted a photo of a white rabbit from Alice in Wonderland, making reference to the Alice in Wonderlust troll account, asking the person behind the account to come forward. Her post said, "Dear Alice, I don't owe it to you to remain quiet. You've goaded and encouraged trolls to tear my reputation apart for the last 8 months. Mine and a handful of other influencers, for what gain? No, I won't talk to you or discuss with you your justifications for online bullying. There is absolutely no justification for this behavior. As someone that is on this platform to support other women, talk about accountability and stand up for myself when people attempt to bring me down, I won't stay silent. How can I? That contradicts who I am and why I'm on here. It's not even about the words that have been said, it's the betrayal of trust. To say I'm hurting is an understatement. What gives you the right to play with people's mental health? For so long, I've had to grin and bear the derogatory comments, the angst of what people think of me, where the malice has come from. You looked me in the eye and asked me how I'm doing when I've been at my lowest. How dare you? I haven't and never would wish anything bad on anyone. You yourself have been at the hands of trolls and you know exactly what it does to you. This is your time to come forward and start doing the right thing by everyone that is affected." Whew! After this post was made, Clemmy came forward and posted stories to her Instagram story, confirming that she's been posting online under a false identity. She said, "Earlier this year, I became aware of a website that had thousands of comments about my family and I. Reading them made me feel extremely paranoid and affected me much more than I knew at the time. I decided without telling one that I would make an anonymous account so that this group of people wouldn't believe I was one of them, and that I could change their opinions from the inside to defend my family and I." She went on in another post. "It became all-consuming and it grew bigger than I knew how to handle. When the user started to suspect it was me, I made the mistake of commenting about others. I regret it all and I'm deeply sorry. I know this has caused a lot of pain. Undoubtedly, I got lost in this online world, and the more I became engrossed in the negative commentary, the more the situation escalated. Engaging in this was a huge mistake. I will take responsibility for what happened and I'm just so sorry for the hurt I've caused everyone involved, including my family and friends." So, I bet you're kind of wondering what her husband thinks about all this. Since then, Clemmy's husband Simon has come forward with a statement of his own. He said in a post on his account, Father of Daughters. So some people in this corner of the internet may want to know my response to what's happened over the last couple days. Frankly, I'm in a crap position as I only have 2 options. 1, to stay silent to protect my wife, and knowing that if I do, the silence will be deafening, or 2, to comment on something I had no knowledge of. It's not a fun place to be. And yet fun is what I came to Instagram for. I don't take myself or life too seriously, but when something like this happens, I have to acknowledge it, and in all honesty, I'm feeling both angry and a bit sad. I can't condone or fully understand why Clemmy did what she did. Make no mistake about it, she made some bad choices. I just wish she could have spoken to me about this before it all got too much. Actually, if we were wishing for things, I wish it had never happened in the first place. I've seen firsthand what 3 years of being attacked online can do to a person, and the dark places it can drive you to. I guess whereas I can happily ignore it all, she couldn't and ended up getting lost. To be clear, I'm not here to defend my wife's actions or provide excuses because I have none. What I do know is that online actions have real world consequences. This has impacted our family and it will take some time to recover. That said, away from these squares, the world keeps spinning, the leaves are turning, and we have 4 girls that need their parents. I will be here tomorrow doing what I do. Wow! Okay, wow! Honestly, hearing about this makes me wonder if people who write nasty comments on my videos or on my Instagram page are just troll accounts created by people who know me. Jealous people, mean people who wish they could hurt you but they can't because they don't want the repercussions. Have you guys ever gone through something like this? Let me know. And tell me your thoughts on this story down in the comments. I hope it definitely taught you a lesson about how detrimental online trolls can be. And maybe if you've been someone who's written nasty comments about people, just know that it gets into this negative cycle and it does hurt people's feelings, regardless of whether or not you think that they're reading the comments. As for Clemmy, I actually hope legal action is taken against her.